Hello. Um, of all the news I want to talk about today, this morning, I want to talk about this particular youth copper who was kidnapped on a way to serve a fatherland, as we say as youth coppers in Nigeria. See, this issue and this issue of kidnapping, abduction, banditry in Nigeria is an offshoot, or for me, is an offshoot of corrupt system. When corruption, permeates a country, what will happen eventually is that it will begin to break each side and each fabric of the society, and it would eventually break us as a people. I'll explain what I mean in a minute. So I'm asking, please be patient and watch this to the end, okay? And this girl's story is not isolated. This lady's story is not isolated. We've seen that with Chibok girls, all right? But at the time, it started with the Northeast, Northwest. And we were fine and okay with it until it started coming towards the South. And then we then raised eyebrows. But when you have failed government and failed leadership, what you get is something like this. So I want to focus on this morning. So Punch is saying the title, the headline says, "My doctor threatened to marry me, took my uniform." Does this not sound similar to what happened to Chibok girls? Some of them were impregnated, kids who were in secondary school going to school, kidnapped, raped, impregnated, became wives to their abductors. A National Youth Service Corps member, Rofiat Lawal, who was abducted along the Benin-Ore Expressway last Tuesday, has disclosed that her abductors threatened to force her into marriage and take her to Sokoto if her family refused to pay a ransom. This is just as she narrated that one of the abductors, a Fulani, took her NYSC uniform and wore it. Imagine, stripped naked. Punch Metro reports that Rufai was abducted on the way to a place of primary assignment in Oyo State while coming from Edo State. The abductors initially demanded a ransom of 20 million naira, but after several negotiations, they reduced it to 5 million. A friend of Rufai identified as Agbakwara, who raised the alarm about her abduction on his Facebook page, out on Sunday, narrated how she was eventually freed after her family paid a ransom of 1.1 million to an account purportedly belonging to to a family of another kidnapped victim. Narrating her experience in an exclusive interview with our correspondents on Sunday, Rufai noted that the kidnappers waylaid the vehicle she boarded along the Ora area of the expressway. She disclosed that out of the 10 passengers in the vehicle, 6 of them were kidnapped and led into a bush along the expressway. She added that the valuable items such as money and mobile phones were taken from all the victims, including the NYC uniform, which one of the kidnappers wore. The corper said they trekked for 7 hours on the first day they were abducted before they were allowed to rest. This is more like slavery. She said on her way home, coming from Benin to Oren, they stopped our vehicle. I was sitting at the front, and what I heard was gunshot. When I raised my head, I saw 3 people with guns in front of the vehicle and 3 people at the back. The driver tried to escape, but he could not. So they asked us to lie down and took 6 of us. They led us into the bush, searched us, and collected our phones and money. Some of the victims were market women, and they collected all their money, which ranged from 600,000 to 1.2 million, and so on. But I was with 15,000, which they took from me. One of them took my NYC uniform and wore it. After they collected our valuables, we trekked from 3 p.m. to 10 p.m. in the bush. During the day, they would ask us to sit somewhere in the forest, and at night, they would ask us to start trekking. That was how we spent 4 days with them. Jesus Christ, it's a lot. She narrated that other victims, who were mostly elders and traders, were beaten on several occasions during the 4 days of captivity. When asked if she was hurt, she narrated that they did not torture her compared to what was done to others. But one of the kidnappers threatened to force her into marriage and take her to Sokoto State. One of them said he would marry me and take me to Sokoto if my family refused to pay a ransom. I was less I was less harassed, unlike the other victims who were older than me. I was the youngest among those of us who were kidnapped. They did not even know if I was a core member or not. They were just concerned about the money they wanted to get from us. I do not know the total ransom that the 6 of us kidnapped paid as ransom. Some paid 2 million, 3 million, and so on, depending on how your family negotiated. Asked if they ate during the 4 days of captivity, she replied that the kidnappers were prepared with gari, which they gave to them on few occasions. They carried a cooler with them, which was stored with gari, and that was what they gave us on a few occasions. They were prepared for the operation, and it does not seem like that was their first time doing it. She urged the NYSC authority to avail of some period of rest, considering the traumatic experience she had within the 4 days. The NYSC authority has reached out to me. The state coordinator and my local government inspector have called to check up on me. My appeal is that they should give me some days to rest and get medical attention because of the traumatic experience I had gone through for the 4 days. I don't regret participating in NYC because that would happen. What will happen will happen. Others whom were kidnapped together were not NYC members, she concluded. She thanked the family for raising a ransom and getting her out of captivity. If you're meeting this content for the first time, please like, share, and subscribe. Now, what I want to talk about, the reason why I'm reading this story today is simple. Kidnapping is a business in Nigeria now. And kidnapping did not just happen all by itself. It was coming from a system that is failing and has failed. Now imagine the ordeal this lady had gone through. This is a lifetime ordeal. She's literally scarred. Now, she came up alive. Just imagine that these kidnappers were that one was basically to get money, not to harvest organs. Because they've been harvesting organs in Nigeria for so long, killing people. Just imagine that was their aim. It wouldn't matter how much the family raised. They would have raised that money and they still would have killed them and taken the organs away. When a system fails, it affects every one of us, including the people who have ruined our nation. The Nigerian system that is not working right now, a government that is so clueless of what they're doing, an economy that is in shambles at the moment, where people have lost jobs, families are struggling to feed the families. Imagine having to raise 1.1 million. Imagine the others 2 million, 3 million. These are market women. That's their business savings. Now, the reason why this is perpetuating, the reason why I think this is continuing, is because our government, the people at the ends of affair, are not traveling on these roads. They are constantly flying on private jets and helicopters and whatnot. So they avoid the use of these roads. So they don't care. And that's why this thing is continuing. Now, recently, you remember this chap, this guy, this Afenifere youth leader, who was kidnapped and 100 million ransom was asked for. Imagine, you remember the guy, VDM came out and talked about these boys with this guy as well. You remember how he pleaded with all of us Nigerians to raise this money for. Now imagine the others like him. He was kidnapped. He found himself, they trekked all the way to Edo State, Ibilo. I think that's what he said he was released. Through the bushes, through the thick forest, until we wake up and come and say it's enough. Our government will not do nothing. The other day you saw during the APC NEC meeting where they were pledging their allegiance to Tinubu and saying he's doing well, ransom is stopped, kidnapping is stopped. You can see sycophancy in the government. Our lived experience as Nigerians every day on the road is different from their lived experience. So before you turn off this, I know you've heard this enough. Don't get, immune to it, thinking that it will not come to you. It's until it comes close to your doorstep. That's why you will know how serious this is. It's a big business in Nigeria, kidnapping. Banditry has become a big business. It's very lucrative, instantaneous and cash. You take somebody, you get 3 million, 5 million, 100 million for it, and you move on to the next person. The roads have become hotspots for kidnapping. If it's not the police stopping you, it's the FRS is stopping you, it's the customs stopping you, it's the military stopping you. Now it's the bandit. The only difference between all of these harms I've just mentioned right now is the fact that the others will seize your car and you will come bail them. They will let you go. This one sees the human being, so you have no choice but to pressure your family to go and get that money to free you. Let us don't let this thing become too common. If we continue this way, there will be no Nigeria. And we have brothers and sisters and mothers. The other people that were kidnapped with Rofiat here were also people's mothers and grandmothers. I'm calling this out today because I know you've seen this. So I'm using this platform. What I've been talking about on this platform is change, getting rid of corruption. And I guarantee you, anywhere you go to, if you don't fix the root cause of a problem, it would fester for so long until the root cause of this is dealt with and fixed. You cannot blame the police for this. Our police are ill-equipped. You cannot blame the military for this. They are ill-equipped because corruption stolen all the monies they would have used and equipped them to do this job. See the trucks your police officers are using to go and do their job. They fail them by themselves. Their guns are not as equipped as these bandits and kidnappers on the road. See what is happening in the Northeast. It's come down to the South now. And the people who are benefiting from it are doing absolutely nothing because a budget is raised for military stuff every day and defense, and they siphon the money. Plus the government, their contractors, all of them in this business of corruption, padding the budget, padding the amount they will use for this job, and they run away with the money. It's a time. That's what I'm telling all of you. And I'm asking you, please, to share this content and subscribe so we can put our voices together and make sure we make 2027 count. Our voices must be heard. This change that we want must happen. Let me put this a different way. Our voices must be heard to make a change. 2027 for me as an individual is nothing that I would take lightly. I am fighting tooth and nail and I'm making sure we're calling this thing out. Whilst other people are doing corruption around and calling out people who are doing other things about fraudulent stuff. This focus here is we need to get the right people in power so that we can start to make the change. Let us enjoy our roads. It's beautiful when you travel from one city to another city and you see the landscape and you see the beauty of our nation. But that becomes terror when you cannot travel on our roads. Let me ask you before you go. How many of you can travel on those roads and you can beat your chest and say you travel on the road and 100% of the time nothing will happen to you? None. For every 1,000 people that travel on the road, 10 people are kidnapped. That 10 people are either somebody's father, mother, sister, brother, cousin, nephew, niece. We have to stop this banditry. And we can only stop that by getting rid of politicians who have benefited immensely. And this is the only reason why it works. Because they refuse to deal with it. Because budget will be raised next year after this year's budget to fight it and the person will pocket it. This is what Nigeria has become. And if we want a better future for ourselves and our children, our grandchildren, we have to insist on the kind of change that we want. Else it will remain the same. And nobody will want to come to Nigeria. I wish Rofiat all the best as she moves on. But also there are so many other Rofiats outside. There's so many other Afenifere youth leaders outside who have been kidnapped and none of us knows about them. And most of them, some of them have died. They've harvested their organs. Please like, share, and I want you to also subscribe as well. So let's push this content out and let's get these information out to everybody. Let's make these things sound. We need to put fear in the minds of our government and let them know they're due for a change come 2020. We're not hiding it. They're due for a change 2027. Thank you as always. God bless you. Bye bye for now.